Mr. Sumlin, a couple more questions. On direct, you talked, I think we played one of the phone calls, and you talked about those phone calls you had with Mr. Dorsey and Mr. Eppinger. Okay. Let's talk about the phone call with Mr. Dorsey first. How long have you known Mr. Dorsey? Since 2017.
The day my mom passed, February 15th.
Of 2017.
Yes.
Sir? Of 2017?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. And you and Mr. Dorsey were in custody on that day when you met him, correct?
Yes, we was in prison.
Right. So, that call, Mr. Dorsey called you. You did not call Mr. Dorsey.
Right.
And Mr. Dorsey was in jail and you were not in jail.
Right.
Okay. And he called you about bringing some harm to a person named Mr. Harold Clements. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. Did you have any problem with Harold Clements?
I didn't even know Harold Clements.
Could you speak up just?
I didn't even know Harold Clements.
Okay. And did you said that Mr. Dorsey gave you some instructions?
Right.
And is it fair to say, is this fair recapping your testimony, that you hung up the phone and moved on with your life?
Right.
Okay, you did not act on what Mr. Dorsey was asking you to do.
Right.
Okay. And then you had another call from Mr. Eppinger.
Right.
Mr. Eppinger was calling about, the state was saying permission. Wasn't Mr. Eppinger really looking for payment? Isn't that what it was? It wasn't permission, it was payment.
Yes.
Okay. And Mr. Eppinger, and I know you said alleged, we'll say alleged, but he was accused of doing something really crazy and idiotic. He was accused of shooting an officer who was trying to arrest him, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know of, and this officer, to your knowledge, if you know, this officer was trying to arrest him on a separate warrant, and that's when Mr. Eppinger shot the officer?
I think that was the situation.
Okay. And then Mr. Eppinger, after shooting the officer, ran away from the officer. So to at least prolong before he got arrested.
Yes.
Okay. Do you know of anyone in this case, Mr. Stillwell, Mr. Kendrick, anyone on the indictment other than Mr. Eppinger? Did you ever hear of anyone encouraging Mr. Eppinger to shoot that officer?
No, sir.
Okay. So Mr. Eppinger calls you, and he's in jail now for shooting the officer and for the case that the officer was trying to arrest him for, correct?
Yes.
And then he starts asking you how much money he could get because he needed to hire a lawyer.
Yes.
Is that what he said to you?
Yes, I think he said. I think he said it in the call.
Okay, and from the call, he told you that he was locked up with Lucci, right?
Yes.
And at first, when he gave you that information, you didn't even put two and two together why he was even telling you that.
No. No.
Okay. In fact, you said, find out what I can get, and then you said, for what? Was that on the call?
Yes.
And then you asked him, what do you need me to do?
Right.
The truth is, you looked at Mr. Eppinger as like a child that got himself into a very bad situation.
Correct.
His own doing.
His own doing.
And you hung up that phone and you didn't act on it anymore.
No.
Okay. So, on December 22nd, of 2022, you pled guilty.
Yes.
Okay. And before pleading guilty, you were still in jail. You pled guilty from jail, essentially.
Yes.
Okay. The plea took place in the courthouse, but you were brought over from the jail. You were not free on December 22nd of 2022, correct?
No, sir.
All right. And part of pleading guilty to what you pled guilty to was a condition was you had to sign this form, correct?
Yes.
All right. And you did not write this form.
No, sir.
You were given an opportunity. Were you given an opportunity to review this form with your lawyer?
Yes, sir.
Okay, but you did not write this form.
No, sir.
And the letterhead on it is the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. After agreeing to what was written on this form and entering your guilty plea on December 22nd, 2022, you were allowed to go home, correct?
I went to Clayton County.
Oh, you had a hold in Clayton County. You were released on this case, and
Right.
then you were transferred to Clayton County.
Yes.
And then since you've resolved your situation in Clayton County.
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Ms. Weinstein, anything? Redirect? Okay.
I think so on direct examination that there were people claiming to have killed your friends, Mr. McMillan and Mr. Ford. Do you remember saying that?
Yeah, I said they were trolling on Instagram.
Trolling. Do you know if Lucci was affiliated with the people who were trolling on Instagram?
My personal knowledge, no, my personal knowledge, like when you ask that, what you mean? Like what you?
The individuals who were trolling, were they associated with YFN?
Yes.
And is Lucci associated with YFN?
Yes.
Have you ever heard the term dry snitching?
Dry snitch. Yeah, I heard it.
How have you heard that term?
I mean, I heard the term before. I can't explain how I heard it. I can't.
What is your understanding of what the term means?
I can't say what dry. I heard the term before, but I can't just say what it means.
Back in 2022, after you were arrested on this case, did you learn that your phone number, there was a search warrant for your phone number and there was a wire on your phone, a wiretap on your phone number?
Yes, man, I learned that yes.
And at the time, did your phone number end in 8711?
Probably did.
Court's indulgence. Nothing further, Ron.
Sir, you were just asked about people trolling on Instagram after the Christian McMillan, Darius Ford double homicide.
Right.
Okay. And that was in March of 2022, correct?
Yes, I was locked up.
All right. The truth is, there were a whole lot of people trolling about that death, correct?
Right.
There was a whole lot of people claiming responsibility for Mr. McMillan and Mr. Ford's bodies, correct?
Yes, sir, it was.
People from YFN were on Instagram claiming their bodies, claiming responsibility, correct?
Yes.
People from PFK were on Instagram claiming responsibility for those same killings, correct?
Yes.
Members of the Henchmen.
Yes.
Henchmen is another rap collective
Yes,
on the
sir.
east side of Atlanta, correct?
Yes, sir.
People that were members of the henchmen were also claiming responsibility for Mr. McMillan's and Mr. Ford's deaths, correct?
Yeah, it was a lot of people trolling about they death.
Okay, so there was at least 3 different groups and multiple people within these groups who were all claiming responsibility for the same deaths, correct?
Yes.
And they were doing it publicly, right?
Yes.
So the world could see.
Yes.
And all 3 of these groups are involved with rap music, correct?
Yes.
With drill music,
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. No further questions.
All right. Mr. Sumlin, you are excused.